Welcome back to the cottage, everyone, and a peek at some of the sights, sounds, and happenings here at the beginning of the fall season. It seems like just yesterday I posted my last video, and yet it has been a month and a half already, and I suppose that is a really good indication that we've been busy around here. Life is wonderful and busy for sure, and I'm happy that you still decided to pop in and say hi today, even though my videos are pretty sporadic. The footage you will see in this one were taken over the course of about a week and cover a wide range of things, so it's a pretty good snapshot of life lately. The temps are definitely cooling down here in Minnesota. The leaves are falling. It is still raining, which it basically rained all summer long, so that is no change. Every year though, it still surprises me how quickly the shift is made from hot, sweltering summer to feeling the need to bundle up and get things prepped for the colder months ahead. Even the animals are preparing. Look at this cute little guy shoving dried leaves into his cheeks. Probably he's getting ready to build a nice warm nest. And he's inspired me to get our house ready too, and I'll have more about that later in this video. The garden is winding down, and sadly it wasn't as productive as what I've been used to in years past. I've actually heard similar sentiments from a lot of people. It could be a variety of reasons, maybe weather factors since it did rain so much, or maybe for me accidentally letting the deer come in and have a little nibble. Either way, there really isn't anything that I can do about those circumstances now. All I can do is be grateful for the harvest that I am able to take out of it. And so I should be able to still have enough tomatoes for at least a few quarts of pasta sauce, maybe some salsa. We enjoyed quite a few sweet peas, chives, green peppers throughout the summer, and our neighbors let me pick from their abundance of green beans and zucchini. In fact, I had to find a way to use up some of this giant pile of zucchini and squash, and one of the things I tried was a recipe for potato zucchini soup. It was so simple to make. Just a matter basically of sauteing 1 onion and some garlic in a little bit of olive oil, and then adding in 2 chopped potatoes and about would be considered 2 large zucchini. For me, since I have such a giant zucchini, I'm about using half of that, maybe 3/4 of that. And then adding in a bit of salt and pepper. While that's going, I just boiled 4 cups, I believe it was, of chicken broth, and then added the veggies to that boiling broth. And in the end, I used an immersion blender to smooth it all out. I topped ours with a bit of sour cream and chives, and it was so flavorful with just those few ingredients, and it was the perfect meal for a cool day. Another thing that's keeping me plenty busy and has been my focus this fall is homeschooling our 2 daughters. And so we do have 5 kids. Our oldest, as you'll remember, has moved off to college. He's studying mechanical engineering. And then we have 2 sons who are in high school, and then our 2 daughters are at home with me. They are what would be 8th grade and 6th grade, but in reality, because of the beginning of their lives and living in institutional care, they are a bit delayed, and so they are maybe not quite at that level. So as you'll see as I go through our curriculum, you'll see that some of it's maybe below what you would expect of an 8th and 6th grader, but we're moving at the pace that is comfortable for us. And so I am going to talk a little bit more about our unit studies in a little while, and I'll show you the rundown of that. But we have Gather Around Homeschool is what we use for our unit studies. It's really nice. It covers all sorts of different topics: history, geography, art, science, all those things. And then every day we read a passage from the unit study, and then the girls have 1 or 2, maybe 3 pages that they would fill out relating to what we learned. So that's been really good. And then along with that, we sort of do this 5 in a row program. Again, I'm going to talk about that a little bit later. Don't want to go into all of that right now because it's a big part of our curriculum. Okay, I've got the entire table filled up with all of the books for our unit studies. As I was mentioning, we like to have the spine of a topic that we will focus on for about 5 weeks. We're starting out the year with Australia and Oceania, which has been really interesting so far. I like to choose a couple chapter books that go in line with that theme. And so we just finished The Last Koala. We're going to be starting Dingoes at Dinner Time. These are a little easier books, but as we go on, there's going to be a little bit more challenging writing that we're going to be talking through. I read these out loud, we discuss them together. And then as part of that, keeping with the literature side of things, we do a program called 5 in a Row, which is really intended for younger kids, I think, but with my girls, they do struggle a bit with comprehension when it comes to stories, which is why we talk through a lot of things when I'm reading out loud to them. And so the premise behind this program is that you would read the same picture book 5 days in a row, and then every day you kind of discuss different topics related to the book. And so this Pumpkin Runner book does relate to Australia. It's based on a true story of a man that ran from Melbourne to Sydney, which is crazy. And then in this guidebook here for the curriculum, you then have different topics you can discuss. So we talk about the geography of Australia. We talk about some of the different industries that are there, some of the famous landmarks, and lots of different topics that you can really go in depth with your child. And so we don't go through everything, but we do like to talk about quite a few topics as we go through the book, and that just helps them to retain and really understand what they're reading, and then think more thoroughly about other things that are being read to them. And at the end of the week, I try to have them write a little book report about the 5 in a Row book, which gives them good practice on writing as well. Some of the subjects we do only every other day. One of those is history, because we do get some history through Gather Round. We do this history just on Mondays and Wednesdays. The World's Story from Master Books, we're on level 3 of that, which is the final volume in that series, and it's been really good so far. For math as a core subject, we actually do 3 different curriculum, just because I find that our girls having things introduced in different ways has been really good for them. One of them may understand the concept using one technique, and the other might find a different technique more helpful. And so these 3 curriculum with math I found to be helpful for them. And so we've got Master Books, math, this is level 6. This we do together, and we'll just go through a page or 2 every other day and just talk about different concepts. And then we also do Good and the Beautiful, which I don't have printed out. For that curriculum, we're on level 5. And I'd say that that one is a little bit more in depth than the Master Books is. And so the topics are kind of similar. We'll maybe learning about decimals in one and decimals in the other, and they're introduced totally different ways. And so we'll usually do those together, or I'll introduce things to them together. And then the third curriculum that we use is CTC Math, which is an online program. And what that allows me to do is, if I can see that one of my daughters is catching on to a concept faster than her sister is, I can assign some more in-depth things with that topic to that daughter to work on her own, because it is online. And so she's not being held back by her sister that's maybe not understanding it. She can work at her own pace with CTC. And so Good and the Beautiful and Master Books we do together. CTC is sort of on their own, but I assign what they do based on what I know that they've mastered in these group things that we do together. Then we have our reading, grammar, writing type of curriculum. For those, we go through the Institute of Excellence in Writing. Fix-It Grammar is what we use for grammar. We did this last year. Our girls both loved it. My youngest daughter said she was most looking forward to this year, and so that's been really fun. It's just, 10 minutes or so, 15 minutes a day, learning the parts of speech, learning how sentences are formed, and that's really helped their writing. And new this year, we are doing a formal writing program from that same company called Structure and Style. And so this does have an online program that you can have your child do video lessons and have the teacher teach them, and then they just do the work. That doesn't work really well for our girls. They can do that online with math, that's fine, but when it comes to writing and reading, they really need a little bit more direction. And so I took this course over the summer to learn how to teach them in that similar way, and we've been working through it. It's a very methodical, step-by-step approach that I think is going to really click for them and help them to become more confident writers. So I'm excited about that one. Some other things that we are doing this year, we have been focusing on Barton over the last 2 years. Barton is a remedial reading program that was probably the main reason why I decided to homeschool in the first place. Our oldest daughter has what I would consider probably a pretty severe form of dyslexia. Our younger daughter maybe has mild dyslexia. Neither of them have been diagnosed, but I can just tell. And so we really wanted to make sure that they got a good grasp on reading and writing. And so we went through Barton all the way up through level 8. Level 9 starts to be a bit more of a high school level, and so that is recommended more when your child has a larger vocabulary. We're not there yet to go to level 9, and so this year for Barton, we're just doing a review of what we've already learned, just reinforcing those techniques. And then we are, I'm having the girls read to me a lot of things, and so we might do, one day we might do just a little reading out of a treasury type of book where they just read a little short story to me, and I can listen for their fluency, ask them questions about what they're understanding, and things like that. And then as the year progresses, I want them to read more difficult text to me, and so I picked up this box set that I'm really excited about called the Lightkeeper's 10 Girls. And it's really a collection. Each of the books has a story about a girl, or 10 different girls, different topics. So this is 10 Girls Who Changed the World. And then there's also 10 Girls Who Used Their Talents, 10 Girls Who Influenced History, and things like that. And I just think it's really good for them to see or hear stories and read stories about girls and women who have done great things, just to have as role models and just a positive influence on them, knowing that when they work on their studies, that someday they're going to be able to go out and do similar things. So the school year, we're about 2.5 weeks in. By the time you see this video, we'll be 3 weeks in. I think it's going really well. The girls seem to be liking it. I'll show a few video clips in here of how our day runs, but overall, it has been working well, and I think that this is going to be a great school year. I'm really leaning into homemaking and trying my best to embrace the time that I spend in the kitchen, because with 4 growing kids still at home, I'm in here a lot. I've been making my own Greek yogurt for a while now, and everyone in the family seems to love it. In fact, anytime we visit our oldest son at college, or if he comes home, it's one of the few things that he requests that I make for him to have for himself in his apartment. So I'm making a huge batch of this basically every couple of weeks. But it could not be any easier. All it takes is a crock pot, a gallon of whole milk, and a little bit of time. I like to strain our yogurt when it's done culturing because it gives it a more thick and creamy texture. I use coffee filters to do this, but if you had a cheesecloth or even a clean dish towel, that would work too. And the great thing about yogurt is that it can be used to make so many other things as well, like sour cream, dips, sauces, or it can be added in for things like baked goods or smoothies. It's very versatile and a nice staple to have on hand. My sourdough baking also continues to go strong. I've been doing that now for about 1.5 years, And I have some tips and tricks that I've learned along the way that I hope to share with you in a later video. But my main advice is to just get into a rhythm of doing it often. If I designate a couple times a week to make something out of sourdough, I'm able to keep from having to purchase quite a few bread products. All sorts of things can be made with sourdough: tortillas, dinner rolls, waffles, pizza dough, bagels. You'll see in a little bit here during my grocery haul that I only really need to buy bread if we're having a meal of sandwiches, just because of the sheer volume of thinly sliced bread that is required for those meals. I haven't quite perfected the thin slicing quite yet. Here you can see that I'm making English muffins with sourdough, which in my opinion is one of the easiest breads to tackle. It requires very little prep work or fuss. In fact, I baked up this batch to use for egg sandwiches at lunch during a school day, and it didn't disrupt any of the work that the girls and I were trying to accomplish. They did a little bit of quiet reading for about 10 to 15 minutes while I got the English muffins into the oven. And this right here, this is such a real life scene. It just makes me giggle. I had to capture the moment, and I'm sure that I'll be happy I did years from now when all of the kids are grown and gone from the house. I don't ever want to take these moments for granted. The girls also join me often in the kitchen as my helpers, and they are primarily the ones who've taken on the responsibility of the afternoon dishes and the kitchen cleanup, which has been really very wonderful. I figure I should probably also mention what the boys have been up to this fall, and these clips will do a good job of that. It only would take one word for me to explain it, and that is football. Honestly, that keeps all of us, the entire family, very, very busy during these fall months. We have a minimum of 2 games per week, and on some weeks, because of the various levels that they play at, as many as 4 games. And that's a lot of time spent watching the game of football. Definitely, though, I wouldn't trade it for anything. I'm officially a football mom, something I would never have expected. Before we had boys of our own, I didn't know a single thing about football. I went to maybe a handful of games in high school, but that was just because I wanted to hang out with my friends. I would maybe glance at the scoreboard every now and then. That was about as invested as I ever got. And now here I am, cheering really loud from the stands. We're on the road most weeks to at least one of those games, including those for our oldest son, who is now playing for the Minnesota Golden Gophers. He actually scored his very first collegiate points at a game a couple of weeks ago, and our whole family, plus both sets of grandparents, were there to witness them, which was so incredibly special. Unfortunately, I can't show that video because it is copyrighted material, but I will show a little clip here of him getting off of the player bus in preparation for a game. We are just so proud of him, and we're proud of all of our kids. They are just growing into really wonderful human beings.
Hi, Mom.
Welcome to my counters. I don't think that I've ever done a grocery haul video before, but I just got back from Aldi and Walmart and I've got quite a few things here. I think those videos are kind of interesting on occasion just to get an idea for what the prices are like around the country, maybe get some inspiration for what people are eating, recipes, and things like that. So I thought maybe you'd be interested too. I'm going to turn the camera around and show you what I got. Okay, I'm not going to go through each and every item. I need to get these things put away, but generally speaking, I like to get the bulk of my groceries at Aldi because I think the price is better. I'm used to the quality of the products, and it's just really convenient because I do grocery pickup there. I've been doing that for over a year, and it saves me a ton of time. So this whole side over here is all from Aldi. And then I usually, whatever I can't get at Aldi, or if I like a certain brand a little bit better, I'll go to Walmart. And so that's usually where I'll get toiletries and things like that as well. And so I'll pick up a few things there, like the rotisserie chickens, certain deli meat. I don't think Aldi has a great selection of that. The flour that I like to use, they don't have that at Aldi. So I get some things over at Walmart. And yeah, we only shop for groceries every 2 weeks. So this is probably a little bit of a smaller haul than normal. Mainly because we just got a meat pickup. We butchered half a cow and half a pig. And so we have quite a bit of meat in our freezer right now. I don't need to buy that. Besides, I did buy a little bit of bacon and sausage, but besides that, I don't have to buy a lot of meat right now. So that's going to save us some money. Generally, our monthly grocery budget is around $800 to $1,000 per month. So I will tally up both of these receipts, put the amounts there, but I'm guessing it's going to be kind of around $400 probably for all this. I'm going to finish off this rather long video with some fall decorating. First, I took advantage of a rare moment of sunshine to gather a few items that could be used as decor. I'm thankful that nobody in my family has any major allergies, so that I'm able to just source some of these things directly from nature and bring them indoors to enjoy the beauty. As you can see, the pollinators are still out and about doing their jobs. And what I typically like to do when I'm about to change out decor is gather the items I might potentially use and set them all out on the table so I can see them all in one place. And then I can think about how I might be able to use them creatively. I did purchase a couple of linens this year. I was looking for something with a bit of fall color to use on the back of our couch, and I found this plaid blanket at Walmart, as well as these pillowcases that I thought matched pretty well. This is one of my absolute favorite minimalist hacks. When it comes to throw pillows, instead of buying those that are in different patterns and colors, I just like to buy regular standard sized pillowcases, and then I put in a couple of pillow inserts, or sometimes I'll fold a standard pillow in half, put that inside the pillowcase, and fold the excess fabric inside. This trick means that there is less that needs to be stored because pillowcases, they store pretty compactly, and it also allows me then to use these pillows in other areas of our home. It's not just designated for the couch. I can use these pillowcases on our bed, for example. I have this sweet little fall image that I really cherish. The only problem is that it is so small, and it would look silly and insignificant if I tried to put it up on my fireplace the way that it is. So I had this idea this year to kind of beef up the background textures a little bit to really draw the eye in toward that smaller print. I used a cream colored radiator cover, which is something I use quite often in my decor, and also a woven basket. This is something I've never hung on my walls before, so it took a little bit of trial and error, but I think it turned out pretty cute. I added in a couple of mini pumpkins, some colorful leaves, and faux candles to complete the mantle look. The rest of the decor was all about the warm tones of fall and cozy textures, as well as light. During the fall and winter months, when it's darker earlier here in the Midwest, I will on occasion burn some candles in the evening just for that glow. And I also really like having this little lantern by the kitchen sink to keep me company while I do the post-dinner dishes. I really hope all of you are starting to embrace this season, which really is quite beautiful. Let me know what your favorite fall activity is or your favorite way to decorate. I love to hear about either of those, or just generally what you've been up to over the last month and a half since we've chatted. Again, thank you so much for stopping by today, and until next time, take care.